So today we are going to be doing a little bit of opening. So we're going to be sitting or standing, whatever's your preference, and you will want to have some sort of chair that is not on wheels to do some of these exercises. It is 12 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so my name is Hope. I'm one of the wellness specialists. If you attend this regularly, you would be used to be seeing Sophie. She's out today, so I'll be leading us through some stretches, but don't worry, she'll be back next week. So we're going to do some movements that get you into a position that is opposite of sitting. So normally when we sit, we're hinging over our computers, we're typing with our little dinosaur arms. Sometimes we have our leg and our hip in a right angle. So we're going to be moving away from all of those positions today as much as possible. So I would like us to start with a little bit of posture building today. So I invite you to find a nice balanced stance, left to right, front and back, whether you're sitting or standing, find some balance. And we're going to build our posture from the bottom up. So we'll start by pulling our navel in and up. And then with that upward motion of your navel, you're going to feel this lengthening or this upward lift through your spine. So your belly button's going to come in and up. It'll help your spine to feel a little bit taller. And that might extend all the way up to your shoulders that come up. And then we're going to send them back and down. So now you're in a little bit of a silly posture. Let's let that go. Shake it out a little bit. And do it one more time. So bring your belly button in and up. Let that length travel up your spine for your shoulders to rise, and then bring your shoulders back and down. Keep your core engaged. Is your core still engaged? All right. Hello. Now let everything go again. Judith, most of us have our cameras off, so you might want to turn your camera off for this. All right, so let's do our posture building a couple more times. We're going to bring our belly button in and up, find some length through the spine. And this time we're going to bring our arms all the way up overhead. And now let's take some arm circles backwards. So we're going to do some giant arm circles backwards, finding as big a range of motion as feels good for you. I've got a little stickiness in my right shoulder, so that arm isn't moving quite as much. If you want to do these one at a time, you can also do one arm, big giant circles backwards. If you're doing both arms at the same time, feel a nice opening through your chest. And now let's reverse the direction. So keeping that core engaged and that spine long, like we were just practicing, we're going to bring it the other direction. And again, you can do these one at a time if that feels good for you. Make some nice deep ranges of motion the other way. You can do them at the same time. And then let's bring our arms out to the sides. Check in one more time. Hi there. Check in one more time with your core. Bring that belly button in. And we're going to continue these arm circles, but just make them a little bit smaller. So maybe like you're tracing the outside of a watermelon, keeping your core nice and engaged. We're doing little watermelon-sized circles backwards. Bringing that belly button in and up, length through the spine as you go along. And once you feel satisfied backwards, let's reverse the direction and go forwards a little bit. So keeping that core nice and tight, watermelon circles, watermelon-sized circles with your fingers. All right, so these are some medium circles. The next thing we can do is some tiny circles. So if you can keep your arms out, if you need to drop them to take a break, you can. But now we're going to draw, it's like somebody ate the watermelon and all we have left is the little seed, little watermelon seed-sized circles, kind of like your middle finger is just drawing a little circle the size of the watermelon seed, just tiny little circles, keeping that core engaged. Drawing those circles backwards, switching direction, and drawing them forwards. All right, anybody else's arms feeling very warm at this point? Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and drop your arms. Let's stretch that out a little bit. So let's bring your right arm across your chest, grab it with your left wrist, and then you can find some nice gentle movement up and down with that arm, stretching out what we just did. As you're doing this, ask yourself, do I still have that core engagement that we were practicing? Let's open up and switch sides, bringing the left arm across the body, grabbing it with the right wrist, and then finding some nice, gentle, easy movement up and down. Yet again, how is your core doing? Is it nice and engaged? A lot of core training that we do is sit-ups or crunches, but I also know that it's very important for us to practice keeping our core engaged while we're doing any sort of everyday activities. All right, we're going to continue with some of this chest opening. So bring your arms to goalpost arms here, elbows at a nice right angle. So this upper arm parallel with the floor. And then we're going to bring the arms up and down. And as you bring them down, feel the shoulder blades squeeze in the back and the chest open in the front. So we're going to just bring our elbows up and down, squeezing behind and reaching up. If you like, you can lean back a little bit and bring your nose just slightly up to get a little bit of that opposite motion, like I was talking about at the beginning. When we're typing, we're reaching forward, so we're just going to do a little bit of the opposite of that. Our goalpost arms. All right, great, shake it out. Now we're going to get a little bit into our neck. So with the tip of your nose, we're going to draw a circle in front of our face. Now I get a little dizzy doing these, so I'm going to close my eyes so I don't lose my balance. You might want to hold on to something. But basically, we're just taking our nose and drawing a nice circle one direction in front of our face. And switch directions. I can't do too many more of these because even with my eyes closed, I'm getting dizzy. Nice and slow, big circles with the nose. That was a little bit of a warm up for our neck. So now we'll get a little bit deeper into that stretch. So let's extend our right arm down to the side of our body, tip our left ear to our left shoulder very slightly, and then push gently away from your body with that heel of your right hand. You can bring that hand up and down if that feels nice to you. You can bring it to the front and the back of your body if that feels nice. Experimenting with feeling a stretch on the side of your neck and also kind of down your arm. It can be a little intense, so just only go as deep into it as feels good. Moving up and down or back and forth. And now we'll switch to the other side. So tipping your right ear to your right shoulder and extending your left arm just at a slight angle out, pushing away from your body with the heel of your hand. And just slightly moving that arm up and down. And forward and back. All right, so that was a little bit of a stretch for your wrist and your fingers. So let's get a little bit deeper into that. Let's bring our hands into prayer pose. And we're going to just experiment with bringing these fingers up and down. You might find you get a good stretch if you separate your hands a little bit at the bottom. You might prefer it if you keep your heels of your hands together at the bottom. Just gently finding some up and down. And once you're satisfied with this direction, find the point at which your heels can touch, the heels of your hands can touch, that you can bring your hands low as you can without rounding forwards. And from there, tip your fingers forward and back. And only tip as far forward as you can comfortably go without rounding forward. See, I can go all the way down if I hunch my shoulders, but we're going to keep our shoulders nice and open. Hey, here's a good opportunity to check in with our core again. Is it as it was when we practiced at the beginning? All right, so that's our upper body. We're going to switch to a little bit of lower body. And for this, I invite you to have a chair that does not have wheels. You can also do these standing, but I'll demonstrate them sitting to start. So let's sit down and come to the very edge of our chair. We're going to get into our hip flexor. So let's start with our right foot firmly planted on the ground. And we're going to bring our left foot underneath the chair and and toe on the ground and bring your knee pointing towards the ground. You should feel a nice hip flexor stretch in the front of your left hip. If you wanted to do the same thing standing, you can bring your right foot forward, left foot back in a little bit of a split stance. And then you can either bend and straighten this front knee to get in and out of that stretch for this hip, or you can experiment with tilting your pelvis forward and back to deepen that stretch in your in the front of your left hip. So you're either standing in a split squat, or you are sitting with on the edge of your chair with your left knee pointing down. Take some nice deep breaths for this nice hip flexor stretch, getting us out of our chair sitting position we sit in for so much of the day. And whenever you're satisfied, you can switch to the other side. So planting the left foot firmly on the ground and bringing that right foot behind. Toes on the ground, knee pointing down. Feeling that nice stretch through the front of your right hip this time. If you're standing, same thing, left foot forward, right foot back. To help you with your balance, if you're choosing to do this in a standing position, keeping your feet a little bit wider apart so that your feet are in line with your shoulders rather than on a tightrope can help your balance to be a little bit more stable. And then once you're there, you can either play with bending and straightening that front leg, which will also help with a little bit of strengthening, or you can practice with hinging your hips forward and backwards to deepen that stretch in your front right hip. Okay, so that was the front of our legs. Now let's get into the back of our legs a little bit. For this one, probably you'll want to be sitting. You can do it standing. Let's come again to the very edge of our chair and extend one leg in front of us. So I've got my left leg extended. Flex the toes towards your face. Have a slight bend in your left knee. And then we're going to lean forward by hinging at the hips and keeping that back nice and tall and straight like we were practicing at the beginning. Just slightly hinging forward. You should feel it in the back of your calf and also in the back of your hamstring here. If you are really flexible, you might have your nose a little closer to your knee. You can see it doesn't take very much range of motion for me to really feel that stretch in my hamstring. But if you're kind of collapsing over, you can get your nose closer, but that's not what we're working on right now. So keeping your back nice and long and only hinging as far forward as you can without rounding to get closer to your knee. Take a nice deep breath through that. And we can switch to the other side. So let's extend our right leg in front of us. You can take a minute to reset on your chair, right on the very edge. Flex your right toes towards your face. Don't forget about that soft bend in your right knee. And then hinging at the hips with the spine nice and long, just tipping slightly forward to feel the stretch in the back of that right leg. Again, keeping your shoulders nice and up and not rounding forward. Taking some nice deep breaths through this right side. These two stretches are some that you can do in between emails or phone calls to just bring a little bit of relief to our sitting positions. All right, I think we have time for one more. So again, on the edge of our chair, let's cross our ankle over our knee. So I'll do my left ankle over my right knee. Keep that left foot flexed. Keep that left knee at about a right angle. And again, you can tip very gently forward on this one. I don't have a lot of space, so I don't have a lot of room to tip forward. But keep your shoulders up and back, not rounding forward. Keeping that left foot flexed. If you want to deepen it a little bit, you can kind of push down a little bit gently on the top of that left knee. And let's come to the other side. So stacking our right knee on our right ankle on our left knee. Keeping that right foot flexed, hinging forward at the hips, keeping your spine long, shoulders up. To deepen it, you can gently press down on your right knee a little bit, if that feels nice. Taking some nice, long, deep breaths. Okay, Let's finish with some big, deep breath stretches. So you can either stand or sit for these. And let's inhale, bring the arms above the head. You can tilt your head back a little bit. Exhale, press the air away. Let's do 2 more like that. So inhale, bringing the arms above the head. And at your own pace, exhale, pushing the air away. 1 final breath together. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Chin tips up slightly. And exhale. Thank you all so much for coming. I hope you have a